Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and you're listening to Francis Fox News from Other Dimensions. I'm sorry, but time slipped away from me. That's why I'm a bit late. Uh, What I wanted to discuss with you today are unseen factors in what's going on spiritually today across the world, but mainly in the United States, which is where I live and where I have most of my information from. We are coming into a new age. Um, People in the field of spirituality, the New Agers, have been waiting for this time very enthusiastically. But there's a tremendous misunderstanding as to what it is that's going on now and what it is that needs to go on so that we don't continue to fall into the trap of responding to something that we see without understanding why, and then our response is not going to achieve the results that we want. Right now, I want to talk a little bit about illegal aliens. As I was writing my very famous book that I haven't gotten out to you yet, I was writing a chapter. I wrote several chapters on your spirit body, which is your astral body. And a very bright friend of mine sent me an article having to do with illegal immigrants in Sweden. This was about 10 years ago. And it turned out that a lot of the children that were in Sweden waiting from Russia, that were in Sweden waiting to get papers so they could stay in Sweden, were falling into a condition that has probably, I can't tell you what the word is because I don't remember and I couldn't find the documents. I will find them and deliver that name to you one day, but has at least 20 letters in the name. And it is a condition that the children of the illegal aliens would fall into as they were waiting for their papers to become legal, or whenever they got notification, the family, that they were not going to be granted asylum. That condition included, or was, the child falling into a state of total, like a coma, to where they don't respond. And they would stay in that state for weeks and sometimes for months. And it would just from one minute to the next, mentally they would be gone and the body would have to be taken care of. And eventually they would come back. And again, there was enough of them that they created a classification for that condition. They got one of the kids that did wake up to tell what it was that he was experiencing when he was in that state of coma. That very particularly, we're talking about this particular group of kids of illegal aliens. And he described being in a box in water and not being able to get out of the box. He was trapped. He was in a state of semi-consciousness in what you would call the astral planes, the astral dimensions, which are the dimensions that correspond to the 7 energy centers we have beneath the root chakra, which, according to the Bible and many other people, is basically hell. He was asleep there, and it was the sheer terror of the thought of having to return to Russia, or what it was that they had gone through up till now. And they were going to school, and they were living in homes, they weren't living in tents, but it was post-traumatic stress syndrome. And it was fascinating because it was like the epitome of PTSD and an escape from the reality they had to live with so much fear. As I have mentioned in other chats, years ago, somebody called me about somebody in a family not being in a good place. And when I checked, it was that the members of the family and the kid, because the person who took care of the child in the family was an illegal alien, from the child to the parents who were not aware of what was going on in terms of why the family was not doing well emotionally, to, of course, the illegal alien, there was a wave of panic attacks. And it was here in Miami. And I remember that a lot of my housekeeper had a friend who was the illegal alien. Basically, everybody got together that was illegal alien. They wouldn't go to the parks. They wouldn't walk the children they were nannies of. They wouldn't go to their jobs if they had to take public transportation. And it was a time of enough panic attacks to where the families that were not illegal aliens were getting affected. And that was at a time when we didn't have the volume that we have today. So we can go ahead and deal with the illegal alien issue in terms of laws and blocking them and putting on planes and sending them back. But before that, we need to deal with the issue of what is going on in the other dimensions, which is where reality is created. We need to take care of what's going on there, which is an incredible volume of fear, creating panic attacks and not limited to the person who's an illegal alien. It is possible that these emotions are going to take our society down. Now, you add to that the whole issue of them eating pets, which basically is just a continuation of practices that they had in their home countries. They're not doing it to upset us over here. And I'm going to remind you again that those societies throughout history that we admire in Egypt, etc., they sacrificed animals. In the Bible, they sacrificed animals. In the Catholic Church, in the Mass, you eat the body of Christ and you drink the blood of Christ. And in terms of metaphysics, where there's an understanding of the laws, the physics of all the dimensions, but particularly causal, even if it's in a dream state, if you see it on TV, you visualize it, you talk about it, it's the same as if it actually happened. So we need to get up to speed. We haven't been able to take care of our regular population. What do we have? 40% of our children are classified as mentally ill because they're massively depressed, and that's considered in this country a mental illness. How did we manage to get here and then throw on top of that millions upon millions of illegal aliens? And you're talking about we're in trouble. And things we should have figured out a long time ago, we didn't figure them out. Now when we really need them, we're not going to figure them out. We're reacting to something, the eating of pets. And I would react too. I would be horrified. I'd be calling the police. I would absolutely. But I understand where it's coming from. And that helps a little bit. That helps a lot. Not just a little bit. It helps a lot to understand that it is a cultural issue. And again, another reason why you can't just import millions of people from a culture that's so dramatically different from us. We basically are living what we set up for ourselves. We haven't understood practically anything about life in this part of the world because this modern society that we live places most of the importance on the physical dimension and the physical body. In terms of health, as I've said, the abs have never caused somebody to die, given them an illness. Nobody's had to be hospitalized because of their abs. And yet there's more an emphasis on that than there is on taking care of your liver so you don't get cancer, taking care of the traumas so that 40 and 50 years later, they don't develop into a major illness that will take you down ultimately. We have absolutely not done our homework in terms of understanding what's important for human beings. We have placed so much emphasis on the physical dimension and material gain and the way things look, which is an illusion. And we did not pay enough attention to our spiritual development, and our religions didn't help us at all. They did not help us at all. In Sweden, they did a lot of studies, and these studies are 10 years old. Out of 90 illegals seen by healthcare professionals, 80% had suicidal thoughts. They called it the silent crisis. And we have that in this country, except it's not so silent because Trump is addressing it, and he does not remain silent on anything. He voices it. He voices what it is that he's seeing and what it is that he feels need to be done. We need to do more than just talk about it. We need to do a lot more than just point fingers. Again, and I know it sounds like I'm promoting myself, but I honestly don't make even 5 cents out of teaching people how to do mantras. I don't. If they buy a product from me, fine, or a service, but teaching mantras doesn't get me 2 pennies, but they work. Mantras are devices that liberate the mind. We need to liberate the mind of this entire country of the level of a fear that it's feeling. Fear that the opposite party is going to win, fear that the illegal aliens are going to destroy society, fear that we're not doing a good enough job, fear that the banks are going to fail, fear that everything is out of control. It was actually announced that things would be this way. We are in the apocalypse, we are in end times. I don't think any of us recognize that the issue of illegal aliens, which is really basically the movement of massive amounts of people from one place to the other, we didn't realize that it was going to be such a big part of this apocalyptic scenario that it is that we're living. I want to address the issue of emotional honesty. It has come up a lot in the last couple of years how these, I'm going to call them Anglo women, very white skin, usually blonde hair, I think you call them Karens, are so angry. They're so civilized. They've got all the concepts right and they've got all the language right, but they are so angry. What is that all about? It's about emotional dishonesty. This was a concept that the dolphins gave me that I understood the concept, but I didn't have a name for it. I didn't have the grasp on it until the dolphins explained that when you do not process your real reaction to something and you just kind of put it away and you don't send it to another zip code, you send it to an organ, a part of your body, this negative reaction that you're ashamed of, it that you're not supposed to have, it's going to come back and bite you. You have become emotionally dishonest. Every disease that you have, to my knowledge, is a result of emotional dishonesty. When you have cancer, you have been emotionally dishonest about how angry you feel about a particular situation and how impotent it makes you feel that you cannot do anything about it. When you have Parkinson's, you're not being honest about the fact that in your head, there's two of you. One wants one thing and the other one wants another thing. The trick with the Parkinson's is the other part of you is not really a part of you, it's a spirit. And that's why the neck wobbles, because that's where the spirit is located. But you didn't express your insecurity, those who have Parkinson's. You didn't express how difficult it was for you to make decisions. You were very indecisive. You didn't tell anybody, I have a hard time making decisions because I want to do it, but there's another part of me that doesn't want to do it. You didn't do that. You were emotionally dishonest. You just kept moving forward and you dealt with it yourself. This whole emotional dishonesty issue is, I believe, the reason why so many well intended, bright, philanthropic, I can't even pronounce the word. I'm too tired. It's got more than 2 syllables. Now it turns out that even in English, if it's got more than 2 syllables, I have a hard time pronouncing it. Women that help everybody, um, and they want for everybody to be fine and give them more welfare relief and let's give them a chance and give them a break because they had a bad background. Those are the ones that are the angriest because they never really dealt with the way they felt, legitimately felt emotionally, not intellectually. And that's the trick. People don't know that you have an emotional body and it's your spirit. And it is only about emotions. And it's very reactive and it's mentally, it's 2 years old. But then you have your mental body that deals with concepts and you can manage and wrap your head around things and understand from another point of view. And then you got that darn spirit, emotional body, we all do, that has very different attitude, very much an emotional reaction to that you just intellectualized. It's one thing about Trump that I like. He's very real. And it's the reason why a lot of people don't like him, because he's very real. Why isn't he more diplomatic? You know why? because diplomats are trained not to be honest. They're trained to achieve a final result that's to their advantage. So they have to manipulate information. They have to pretend they like somebody or they like a country when they don't, okay? When they really look down on them. And they have to have a smile on their face, and they have to be pleasant, and they have to get everybody to like them, which means they have to turn themselves into a pretzel. That, in terms of a person, an individual, is not good for their health. It may work for us to send a diplomat that is able to create some level of peace because they were so pleasant and they got everybody to love them. But in terms of health and the health of a nation, ultimately, it doesn't work. We need to become emotionally honest. I think there is an emotionally honest way of going through the country, in that it doesn't really matter what happens to these illegal aliens. We don't want them over here under these conditions. We don't. We can't. It's destroying everything. And it has nothing to do with whether we're good people or we're not good people. It has to do with the reality of having an entire country and lifestyle overwhelmed to where it can't function, even for those that are the illegals. So I think we need to start dealing with the PTSD the entire country has, and I think we need to make it our job to also teach those illegal aliens the mantras. The one for the panic attacks is very, very simple. Again, you go to the doctor, your chest is pounding, you think you're having a heart attack, you want to die, you're scared stiff, and the doctor says you have a panic attack. And you go, oh, okay, I have panic attacks. I don't know what they give for that, but I'm sure that ultimately they put you in line for the mental health division of health in this country. You never said to the doctor, who's attacking me? It's panic attack. Who's attacking me? Nobody asked that question. How could you not ask that question? There is something attacking you. So instinctively, whoever put that name on that condition knew that there was an attack going on. But you're not allowed to believe. You can be very Christian and Catholic. This is good. You can be Jewish, because also in the Jewish religion, they know all about spirits. All the religions do. But you can't incorporate it into your medicine. No, 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 no. So you can say panic attack, but don't you dare ask who's attacking, which is a spirit. But there is a mantra, and it is so simple. So you should, anytime you see somebody who looks like they're going into a panic attack or in a panic attack, or you feel one coming on, or you get one, or something really bad happens and somebody's going to have a panic attack in the family, you just start with this mantra. It's repeated in silence, and the words are very simple. Even though I'm afraid, I love and accept myself. Even though I'm afraid, I love and accept myself. And I'm looking inside my body, and I see my root energy center, which is at the base of the spine and between your legs. All around it, it's getting Nile green. And I only said this twice. If you're in the middle of a panic attack and you do this mantra, or somebody next to you says to God, I'm doing it for my cousin or for my wife or for the kid, and you start, even though I'm afraid, I love and accept myself, you will, as a vacuum cleaner, take on that energy, and it gets processed through you, and it's gone. It doesn't land on anybody else. So start experimenting with it, because we are going down a really dark road. And the mental health crisis, which is what causes violent crime, which is what takes people away from their core, which is everybody at their core is good people. We need to find our own solutions, and I'm presenting this, and I would like to present it to the entire country and world. It's simple. It costs no money, and it works. You self-assess before you start. And we're going to do this now for 10 minutes. We're going to do, even though I'm afraid, I love and accept myself. So right now, please go ahead and assess yourself from 1 to 10, how you feel. 1 is you want to slit your wrist, you want to throw yourself off a building. 10 is you feel great. Where are you in that scale? Let me put up the gold dress, and let's do that mantra for 10 minutes. Now, I suggest that if you have somebody around you that you love a lot, that's vulnerable, and is living a lot of fear, you can say to God for 5 minutes of the 10 minutes, or for 2 minutes, You can say, this is for my cousin, my son, my wife, and do it for them. You can do it surrogate. It's neat. The other dimensions is neat. And mental yoga with these mantras and the mudras is very, very neat. So let me see if I can, let me put it up myself. So the mantra is the Fox Purification Mantra for panic attacks. And it is, even though, oh, what did I just do? I'm so sorry. Not quite sure what I did. Okay. This is interesting. Here we go. I don't know how I pushed that wrong button. So it is, even though I am afraid, I love and accept. If you see someone on TV, you might try to cue a little experiment and they're really upset, but it's got to be in the moment. It can't be like a video of something that happened before. Cancel that. If you see somebody in the streets, you're shopping, you're eating, and you see somebody who's kind of losing it, not with rage, but kind of looking like a little bit crazy, just do the mantra and watch them. And most of the time, you will notice their faces softening, their stance softening. The power of the mind is unbelievable. We did not need to reach this mess, but we have had powerful enemies that would love for us to eat each other, which, by the way, according to the Mayans, is what we are going to be doing relatively soon. It's not going to be pets, it's going to be people. Cannibalism was always predicted as part of end times. Why don't we stop now what could possibly drive a human being into eating another human being when it's not necessary, when it's not a food issue? Okay. The mantras are repeated in silence and you expel the breath through your mouth. I'm going to do the music, which is the one that is for the root chakra. So 10 minutes of this, okay? See you on the other side. Okay. How do you feel? You can do that surrogate for people that you love, and you can do it surrogate for people that are out of control, and maybe their out of control behavior can end up affecting you, or just simply because you want to be kind to someone else. You will be functioning as a vacuum cleaner, sucking up that negativity that has landed on that person, or maybe was internally generated. You've taken it on and processed it through a mantra, that mantra. By definition, a mantra is a device that liberates the mind. We, in Europe and in here in the United States, we have people that are very kind and want to help those that have less. And that's good. And I suspect that that's what started all of this, wanting to help those that have less. Again, I've been an illegal alien twice. Um, we need to get this all figured out. And when there is a shift in reality, and that kindness, that attitude of come one, come all, ends up becoming an issue, we need to be able to change the policies to address the current reality on the physical dimension, because what it's going to do to us in the other dimensions having to do with emotions and thoughts and mental illness. I'm going to end this chat podcast by saying that throughout history, except for modern society today and modern medicine, mental illness was always known to be due to spirit invasion. So we've got millions of illegal aliens coming in who have post traumatic stress syndrome, which means they are mentally ill and they have spirit attachments. And then multiply the 40% of all of our children and grandchildren that are mentally ill, which means they have spirit attached. And then the homes that were lost in foreclosure, or the people that have lost their jobs who have post traumatic stress syndrome, they have spirit attachments. All of that together, and none of that is getting addressed because we do not address spiritual issues in this part of the world. We want to be kind and we want to be good, which is very unrealistic most of the time because of karma. If you're going through a hard time, you're supposed to be going through that hard time. There's, in one way, shape, or form, that hard time's going to help you. Oh no, we have to be nice, we have to be good. Guys, the whole system is not working. But the whole system was not built on the reality where reality is created, which is in the other dimensions. So that's it. I hope you have a great weekend. Today's Friday the 13th, and we have an eclipse coming up, which should be very interesting.